Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over how to navigate love and relationships for individuals who are inexperienced with love in order to help you guys find relationships. The research I'm going to use is in the description box, but the reason why I wanted to touch on this is because a lot of people, men and women, I notice a lot of patterns within who they are that makes them push people away instead of attract people. And then they wonder why they're single or why they're struggling with relationships. And they're thinking it's because of their looks. They're thinking it's because of their lack of income. They're thinking that it's because of their whatever it may be. And I think that's part of it for sure. I'm not denying your experiences, but I think there's another part of it. And I think that could sometimes make or break situations, because these are things that a lot of you guys can evaluate within yourself and adjust in hopes to attract somebody who's healthy for you. I think the first one is when you're navigating love or connection or dating in general, communicating in a manner that shows that you trust that individual by using affirming statements can be very beneficial. And I'm going to give an example versus accusatory language because a lot of people don't understand this. And I think part of it is a lot of folks more commonly are like online a lot. And I'm a person that I know I make YouTube videos, but outside of this and before this, I was not a person that was like heavily online. And so it was kind of like a shock for me how people talk on the internet, because it's very, very different from like people like, when you just do things not on the, like when you communicate in real life, the communication is so different. I hope that you guys don't talk like that to people, but maybe you do. I don't know, but it's like very different. And so I'm going to talk about some of these things. Affirming statements are, for an example, I'd love to hear more about that. That makes sense. Can you tell me more? Or I appreciate your perspective. These are things that you can add to any conversation that you're having typically, which will allow the other person to feel more like they're a person that wants to open up to you, that you trust them, and that you're a trustworthy individual as well. Because when you portray yourself in a very, like you're untrusting, a lot of people don't want to be around that because they didn't earn that lack of trust. It's too much effort to earn your trust when they didn't break your trust. And so examples of accusatory language that people don't realize but can come across a lot, you're probably pushing people away. So saying things like, "Are you sure? Why would you do that? That doesn't make sense." Or "Why would you even say that?" Those types of things. A lot of you guys talk like that without even realizing it, but at least in the comments. But this is in, like, if you say that to somebody in person, a lot of people are just going to think that you stick out like a sore thumb. And also it comes across as like a lot of walls. And most people don't want to deal with that just because there are plenty of other people who don't have those walls. So I hope you guys are enjoying the video. This part that I'm just cutting in right now is just for practice information. So if you don't want to hear it, you can skip like a minute or two ahead. All that I'm saying is if you want to see me, either as a therapist or consulting, you can. And you can book that with me. And if you want to see me for consulting, you don't have to do it just once. You can do it multiple times, but I'm not going to give you a diagnosis, but we will get very streamlined. We will be very specific, and we'll just work on the issues that you want to. I'm not going to talk about anything you don't want to. In therapy, I will ask you sometimes, did you guys eat? Because I know some of you guys aren't eating, right? Some of my patients come in and they didn't eat, and I know that, right? I'm going to ask you, and we're going to work on that, right? But with consulting, it's whatever you want to talk about, whatever we need to figure out, and then we just get the solutions and we go. And so I'm going to link that below. It's going to be pinned in the comments, but go ahead and enjoy the video. The next one is disclosing small personal stories or opinions communicates to the other person that you're comfortable trusting them. This could be anything. You could say your opinion about, I don't know, your preference between tacos and pizza if you guys were talking about where you want to go for dinner. If you can do this with friends too. If you and your buddies are trying to get together, go somewhere, hang out somewhere, you could give your piece of information. I prefer to be a little further from downtown because I don't like driving in traffic, and I know that we're going to end up staying a little late, and I know that area gets really crowded or has really heavy nightlife space. And so communicating your opinion allows people to not only respect you, but they get to know you. As I had already mentioned, a lot of it is also conveying that you trust them enough to admit how you feel, which allows people to feel more comfortable around you. A lot of people don't understand, but navigating love and relationships is much more, at least in the fundamental or long-term perspective, about how you make them feel and how they feel in your presence rather than the way you guys look and things of that sort. That, of course, is a barrier that can be navigated depending, but that's also something you can't fully control. But these things you can control. And so that's why we're bringing this up. The next one is acknowledge their perspective and avoid invalidating them. Now, a lot of you guys, just based on the comments, and I see this a lot in general with a lot of folks who are struggling with relationships, they don't realize that their statements are very invalidating, and people don't like feeling invalidated. That's life. Whether or not they're right or wrong, that's not the point. It's just they feel invalidated. Most people don't want to feel that negative energy. So here are statements that are more acknowledging. That sounds challenging. Or I see why you would feel that way. In comparison to, you don't know what you're talking about, or women don't know what they want, or don't ever listen to a man. You see how men are, you're just like every other man. Obviously, those are extreme examples of invalidation, but even more so, arguing with a person about every little thing that they say. Oh, some people do that, and I notice it's more common with folks who are more online, because online spaces actually almost reinforces that, right? Because it's very, like, you get a lot of responses, and people who are much more maybe lonely or don't have as much connection outside of those types of spaces, that for them is communication. And so they almost get reinforced to argue or disagree or invalidate another person. And then the other person does the same thing. And so it's like it's almost gridlock. But when you're outside of those spaces, most people don't communicate like that. Most people, they communicate more gentle or more positive. And that can be a huge barrier if you want to find a relationship, because most people want to be with people who make them feel validated. The next one is practicing self-awareness. This is very important, and all of this is something anyone can learn, even if you're in a relationship. And practicing self-awareness is something I think can help anybody. This means understand when you're projecting, when you're showing signs of bitterness, when you're judging someone, or opportunities that you can grow. This is really important. I'm going to give an example of myself, because I think it can benefit from, I'm a person who's in a relationship, and I've been in a relationship for a long time, but I still learn these things. All of us do. But I remember, and during the holidays, I brought up to my significant other, we were going to Target before Christmas just to get some quick Christmas shopping, whatever it is. And I mentioned to him that, like, I was like, oh, I feel bad that some people, I think Target was open on Christmas Eve, I think the morning of, or maybe it was the day before. I don't remember, but I was telling him, I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad for the people who have to work on Christmas or before Christmas. And then he was like, you got to understand that some people don't see their families for the holidays. For them, working is a better option. Some of them get paid more on holidays, and that helps them feed their families. And when he said that, I realized, like, that what I said, even though it came from a place that I felt like it came from a good place, it actually judged a lot of people. And that reflects on me, because I come from a background where both my parents, like, we didn't have to struggle really ever. And I came from a background where we had a lot of resources, I guess I'll put it like that. And I'm not saying that in a way I'm trying to brag. I'm saying that we were very, very, very comfortable. And I know that comes from that. And it's embarrassing for me to admit that I probably didn't understand that because of my background. And when my significant other said that, he wasn't putting me down. He was actually just sharing his side. Like, he knows people who has to do that. Or when, some people that he knew, that was their life. And I appreciated that. And that was an opportunity for me to grow. And that's something, that self-awareness I want to learn. And I think in general, all of us can be more aware of where some of these things come from. It's not a bad thing. It's just an opportunity to grow. The next one is gradual exposure and social skill practice is the best way to put it. This is pretty important, and anybody can learn from this, but I especially think individuals who are inexperienced with love. And I'm going to talk about why that is. Sorry, not love, but relationships. Same thing, I guess, for this particular video. When you're in a relationship, your social skills are very challenged. Even if you're somebody who's been with somebody for a long time, every day you're navigating another person's experiences and lifestyle and what they bring in that relationship, right? If I was by myself, I would have never learned what my significant other, what he was telling me about the Christmas shopping example I gave you, that was an opportunity for me to grow. But a lot of people who are not wanting that, it can be hard to be in a relationship. And sometimes those social skills are challenging. And so one way to build exposure to these types of experiences is start with low pressure social interactions. This could be group events. It could even be online communities. As long as you feel that they're positive and they are beneficial and there's not much negativity, that can help. You can join groups, any type of group, book clubs, poetry groups. Some people, like I know a lot of people there, just like if there's a basketball court in their area or neighborhood, just go there and you guys will, bond with other people who are playing basketball in your neighborhood. There's a park near where I am. I live in a little bit more of a rural area, and there's only one. Like we have quite a lot of parks, but a lot of them are they don't have a lot of equipment to some extent. That's not what I meant. There's only a couple places where you can have actual sports events, at least in my zip code. And one of them, there's a basketball court, and it's a pretty big court. But I know that I don't play basketball, but I'm sure any folks that would want to, you would go there. You would meet a lot of people who collectively are just going there all the time because it's one of the only basketball courts in this area. And that's just the example I had at the top of my head. The next one is have a more mindful approach to expectations and rejection. This one is the last one, and I don't want to make this video too long-winded because I know sometimes I can get into a tangent. Some of you guys want me to be like that, and some of you don't, so I don't know what you guys want. But this particular example I think is important, and I want to expand a little bit on it. Sometimes people have unrealistic expectations or fear of rejection that can paralyze action. This happens a lot of times because you had negative experiences in childhood and you don't understand that most people who are healthy will not act like that. And so what happens is if someone rejects you and it's extremely abnormal, their behavior or how they act, in your mind you think that's kind of what people are supposed to act like when they reject you. In actuality, a person who's more healthy can think, okay, I didn't really do anything wrong. So whoever this person is that's reacting the way they are, there's something, a little bit abnormal with them. It's not me, it's them. But people who have trauma don't know that. And so all of that abnormality, it builds onto your perspective and you start believing that rejection is a very painful process. It can be, and it is for a lot of people. I'm not saying it's not, but you have a very unrealistic expectation of what rejection actually means. It's a more negative perspective. And so reframe rejection as feedback, not personal failure. Practice self-compassion about some of these things. Not all the time is it your fault that somebody behaved a certain way. If you went up to a girl and you said, hey, you're attractive, are you single? And maybe she says yes, and you can say, can I have your number? Whatever it is. And then she reacts really poorly. You didn't do anything wrong. You asked her appropriate questions. You didn't, touch her in an inappropriate way or yell at her. You were completely fine. And so if she reacts inappropriately, it's not you, it's her. And so that's your feedback. Okay, obviously this is good. My vetting process is working. This is not a girl I want to be in a relationship with because already she acted abnormal. Imagine how abnormal she is throughout the relationship. These types of things are very important, and set realistic perspectives of dating. Now, as I'm understanding, dating is challenging for everybody, it seems. And I can appreciate that. And so just because you're single at 28 and your dad got married at 21 doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means the setting and the situation's a little bit different, and that's okay. And so I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.